Welcome to the deep dive. We're here again, taking these really complex customer experience tools and trying to boil them down to the essentials. What do you really need to know to avoid, well, major headaches? Today, we are getting into the weeds with the Adobe Experience Platform, specifically AEP and Customer Journey Analytics, CJA. And our way in today is, I think, pretty interesting. We're using the structure of the AD0-E604 certification material. Think of it like the stress test for anyone working with CJA day to day. Our goal isn't just exam prep, though. It's about using these technical questions, these scenarios, to really pull out the core rules, the sort of sequence of operations you have to follow, and maybe highlight those pitfalls that can really mess up an implementation. Consider this your shortcut to understanding how the platform actually works under the hood so you don't find out the hard way when things go wrong live.
Exactly. And that operational know-how is everything. The source material even laid out the exam details, which gives you a sense of the expected depth. It's about 100 minutes, maybe 50 questions, something like a 66% pass score, and it costs around $225 US. But the point is, it's not just about memorizing facts. It tests if you genuinely grasp the flow of data, from getting it in, structuring it, analyzing it in CJA, and then critically pushing it out for activation, maybe via real-time CDT.
Absolutely. It's the whole life cycle. And if one piece is, well, configured badly, everything downstream kind of falls apart, doesn't it?
It really does. Your analysis becomes basically useless.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's dive into some of those specific scenarios that often cause trouble, starting right at the beginning, getting data usable in the first place. The gatekeepers, schema and connection. So first scenario, based on one of those questions, imagine a CJA developer, right? They need to use data from a third-party CRM. Good stuff, like custom fields, maybe loyalty tier or subscription plan. They absolutely need these fields as dimensions for their reports and analysis workspace. So the fundamental question is, what's the one critical thing, the absolute prerequisite, that has to be done in the XDM schema before CJA will even see those custom fields?
Yes. This one is, it's foundational, and honestly, it's where things often go wrong early on. You simply must extend the base XDM schema.
Extend it, meaning?
Meaning whether you're using the experience event schema or the profile schema as your base, you have to add these custom fields like loyalty tier using what Adobe calls custom field groups.
Okay.
If you don't do that extension, CJA just won't recognize them as potential dimensions. It's non-negotiable. The data might land in AEP's data lake, but for CJA, it's like it doesn't exist for analysis.
But hang on, if the data, say the file upload or the stream, was successful into AEP, why can't CJA just look at the raw data in the lake and figure it out? Why the extra XDM step before analysis?
That's a great question. It's because XDM isn't just a suggestion, it's the actual blueprint. It's the common language AEP uses. AEP needs that schema definition up front to know how to handle the data, how to categorize it, validate it, index it properly. CJA isn't querying raw log files, it's querying data that's been structured and typed according to that XDM blueprint. If the blueprint doesn't mention loyalty tier, CJA has no idea what it is or how to treat it. Is it a string, a number? Should it be a dimension, a metric?
Okay. So the XDM extension tells the whole platform, including CJA, here's a new piece of structured information, and this is what it means.
Precisely. Without it, the data's in the warehouse, but it's not on the library shelf, so CJA can't find it. Skipping the XDM step doesn't save time. It just makes the ingested data invisible to your analytics tools.
Right. You've paid to store it, but you can't use it. Makes sense. Okay, that clarifies the schema's role. But that leads to another common headache, this one involving the connection setup itself. This is based on question 2, and it's tricky. So picture this. Data injection into AEP. Success. You followed the XDM rules, you extended the schema, and the new data set even shows up in the list when you go to configure your CJA connection. Looks good. But then the analysts go into Workspace, run their reports, and nothing. Zero data from that new data set. And the real kicker. The CJA connection status screen says healthy.
Yes, the healthy but empty trap. It's incredibly frustrating.
How can it be healthy if the data isn't flowing? What's the likely culprit here?
So that healthy status, it's a bit misleading. It basically just confirms that technically CJA can talk to AEP. The underlying services are up, the connection exists. It's like saying the pipe between two buildings is intact. But it says nothing about whether you've actually told CJA which specific water source is to pump through that pipe. The most common reason for this healthy but empty scenario is simply that the dataset, the new one with your events, wasn't explicitly selected and included when that CJA connection was configured or updated.
Wait, it's not automatic. If I add a new experience event dataset to AEP, CGA doesn't just pick it up if it's relevant.
No, and that's by design, really. Think about performance and cost. You might have, I don't know, dozens of data sets in AEP, some for identity mapping, some historical archives, test data, whatever. CJA is meant to be selective. You tell it precisely which data sets contain the journey events you want to analyze. Ingesting data into AEP just makes it available. You have to perform that separate, explicit step of linking the data set within the CJA connection configuration to make it visible to CJA.
Ah, okay. So two distinct steps. Ingestion means AEP has it. Connection linking means CJA can see it.
Exactly. Forget the linking step and the connection is healthy, the data's there, but CJA is effectively blind to it.
That's a critical operational detail. Good to nail down. All right, so we've got the data structured via XPM, and we've explicitly linked it via the connection. Now let's move into part two, actually defining the customer journey within CJA. This is all about the CJA data view configuration. It's where raw events become, meaningful analytics. Let's take Insight 3, based on another question. You've got a data architect, maybe working for a fast-paced mobile gaming company. They decide the standard 30-minute session timeout is way too long. They want sessions to end after just, say, 5 minutes of inactivity. Where do they go to make that change? Where's that specific control for defining what a session even means?
Yeah, that's purely an analytical definition, so it lives squarely within the CJA data view. You go into the specific data view you're using for your analysis, find the session settings, and you configure the timeout period right there.
Inside the data view settings, all right.
And it's crucial to understand what that changes. The XDM defines the individual events, like level complete or button click. The connection brings those events into CJA. But it's the data view, specifically these session settings, that tells CJA how to group those hits together into sessions. Changing it from 30 minutes to 5 minutes fundamentally alters how CJA calculates everything based on sessions, conversion rates per session, average session duration, bounce rates. It's a powerful lever for tuning the analysis to your specific business context.
That makes sense. You wouldn't want to change the raw data definition, XDM, just because you want to analyze sessions differently.
Yeah.
The data view acts like a lens or a set of rules applied on top of the data.
Exactly. It's the interpretation layer.
Okay, sticking with the data view, let's talk about defaults. Question Pitium. 5 touches on this. CJA makes certain assumptions when you first set things up. When you create a brand new CJA data view, and you include a standard metric from your XDM schema, maybe something simple like web.webpagedetails.pageviews or commerce.productviews, what's the default attribution model that CJA automatically applies to that metric?
Right, the default setting, it's the simplest one possible, last touch attribution.
Last touch, really, by default.
Yep. Straight out of the box, when you add that metric to a new data view, CJA assumes you want to give 100% of the credit for that metric occurring to the very last marketing touchpoint or interaction that happened just before it.
Wow. Okay, that feels potentially dangerous for anyone doing serious marketing analysis, doesn't it? If you just accepted the default.
Oh, absolutely. It is dangerous if you're not aware of it. If you just build reports without checking the data view settings, all your conversion metrics, for example, will automatically give all the credit to whatever the customer did right before converting. Maybe it was clicking a branded paid search ad or just typing your URL directly. Think about a more realistic journey. Someone sees a display ad, then gets an email, maybe clicks that, browses a bit, leaves, then searches for your brand on Google a day later and converts. With the default last touch, CJA ignores the display ad and the email completely and gives all the credit to that final Google search.
So it completely undervalues all the upper and mid-funnel activities that led to that search.
Precisely. The platform defaults to simplicity. If you need something more sophisticated, first touch, linear, U-shaped, time decay, whatever reflects your actual customer journey better, you have to go into the data view settings for that metric and explicitly change it from last touch.
So the takeaway is, CJA is powerful, but assume it's using the simplest possible model until you can figure it otherwise in the data view. Don't trust the defaults for attribution.
Definitely don't trust the attribution defaults without verifying them.
Okay, great. So we've covered getting data in and structured, schema, connection, and defining how we analyze it, data view. Now for the crucial last step, part 3, activation. How do we take the insights we generate in CJA and actually use them, maybe pushing them back into tools like real-time CDP? Question 4 gives us a common scenario here. A marketing manager has been slicing and dicing data in Analysis Workspace. They've created a really insightful CJA filter. One of those filters you apply directly within a Workspace report. Let's say the filter identifies high-value users who abandoned cart in the last 24 hours. They want to take that exact group of people and target them immediately, maybe with an offer via a third-party ad platform using RTCDP to push the audience out. So they have the insight defined by the filter in CJA. What's the necessary step, the bridge, to turn that analytical filter into something RTCDP can actually use for targeting?
Right. This highlights the key difference between doing analysis and preparing for activation. You can't just export the list of people from the workspace filter directly. It doesn't work that way. The required step is you have to explicitly save that CJA filter as an audience from within Analysis Workspace.
Save as audience.
Okay, when you do that, you're essentially telling the platform, this logic, this filter definition I just used for my report, I want to make it official, publish it. That action pushes the segment logic, the rules of your filter, over to AEP's central profile service. Once it's published and materialized as a segment or audience within AEP, then real-time CDP can see it and use it for targeting, sending it to downstream destinations, your ad platforms, email systems, whatever.
Why the extra step? Why can't RTCDP just use the filter definition from Workspace?
Mm-hmm.
What's the technical reason for needing to save as audience? Is it about making it persistent or something?
Yes, persistence and identity resolution are key parts of it. A CJA filter in Workspace is really designed for let's call it real-time ad hoc analysis. It calculates who matches your criteria right now based on the data CJA has for your specific reporting session. It's transient. An AEP audience, or segment, on the other hand, is meant to be a formally defined group of profiles. It's managed by the central AEP profile service. It's continually evaluated as new data comes in, and it resolves identity across different devices and channels. RTCDP needs that stable, persisted, identity-resolved list of people to target effectively.
Got it. So the filter is temporary analysis. The audience is a persistent, actionable group.
Exactly. And that save as audience function in Workspace is the explicit mechanism Adobe provides to bridge that gap, to promote an analytical finding into an activation-ready segment.
Fantastic. That really closes the loop, doesn't it? From raw data hitting AEP all the way to targeting a specific audience based on CJA insights.
And that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you on the next one.